Hello, good evening, and welcome to PM Express. My name is Stephen Anti. Now, the back and forth of the teachers' strike today came to an end, appears to have come to an end when the various groups involved in the impasse met with the President of the Republic, John Dramani Mahama, who impressed upon them to return to the classrooms whilst negotiations are ongoing. Tonight, we're going to discuss the demands the teachers have been making all this while in connection with payment of their car maintenance allowance, payment of their yearly incremental credit, promotion of teachers, and their WAEC supervision and invigilation allowance, as well as retention premium. And you can join us by text 1760, post your Facebook comments on our Facebook walls, and we'll gladly read them. We'll take a short break, and when we return, I'll introduce my guests for tonight. Stay with us. Welcome back to PM Express. Now, like I said earlier, the leadership of the various teacher unions today heeded the plea of President John Mahama to suspend their strike. This followed a meeting between the president and the various teachers unions. Nat was present in that meeting, Tewu was present, Nagrat was present. So tonight we're discussing whether really there was need for a presidential power to ensure that this impasse is resolved once and for all. And in the studio with me tonight to do due diligence to that is, to my immediate left, Richard Equity Sagodo, who is a Salaries, Terms and Conditions of Service Department, who is from the Salaries, Terms and Conditions of Service Department of the National Teachers Association, NAT, headquarters in Accra. And then I have next to him Kwesi Danso Echampong, is a labor consultant. He will bring different perspectives to the discussion. And then later on in the discussion, in the show, we will be joined on the phone line by Cornelius Yorsen, who is a regular panelist on the show. He's Director of Grievances and Negotiations and Collective Bargaining at the Fair Wages Commission. So, gentlemen, it's great to have you in the studio. And today, it appears that teachers, after all the back and forth, have resolved to call off their strike. So let me ask you, Richard, did it have to take a presidential intervention for this to happen?
Thank you. Meanwhile, let me say good evening to our dear viewers and listeners as well. And also permit me to use this opportunity to say a big thank you to our numerous members across the length and breadth of Ghana who have been with us or who have been very good supporting as far as this 1 week and these actions are concerned. Now, to the question, I don't think so that it has to take the power of the whole president
to resolve this matter. So this matter could have been resolved much earlier.
I believe so.
So what happened?
Well, it's not good to be pointing, accusing fingers, but it's better to rather look forward and think of what will happen next. But suffice it to say that I think we had some bottlenecks with the authorities who are related to the issues or the concerns that we have been raising for some time now.
So today, can you tell me clearly what you agreed on?
Yes, that's a very good question, because in your introduction, and all along you keep on saying the teachers have resolved I don't know exactly where you are picking your information
But you
from.
have not resolved, right?
I wouldn't say no to, but I thought maybe the best way to put it is by tomorrow, the clear answers will come, the clear signals will come. In any case,
No, I mean, I need to understand that is there a possibility that you will not withdraw the strike after tomorrow's final deliberation?
there is a possibility, but let me just put it there that we resolve at our strategic meeting after meeting the president, the three groups, that's NAT, NAGRAT, and CCT, that's Coalition of Concerned Teachers, we really did say that until tomorrow, when we issue out our communique or we hold our press conference, it's like the status quo remains. That was the agreement. Nevertheless, well, maybe you are taking some clues from the airwaves, because I've heard my own General Secretary speak during the 6 o'clock news, and of course the signals were positive. Then the president of NAT also spoke and also gave some positive signals. So, but in principle, we think that our position will be made clearer by the end of the
by the end of
tomorrow.
working day tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. So earlier, the president met the various teachers groups, and we have a playback of what exactly transpired at the Flagstaff House.
Industrial action embarked upon by the teachers' unions have worried everybody in this country, more so myself as the chief executive. And I have continued to appeal to the teachers, to go back to the classroom. I take on board the point made by Comrade Kofi Asamoah in respect of greater efficiency and proactiveness in dealing with some of these things before they get to this point. And that connects with a subject that I always deal with, that persons put in positions of responsibility to carry out certain duties must carry them out as efficiently as possible. It is not only to do with industrial action. There are issues that have to do with remuneration, but there are other issues that did not have to do with remuneration that didn't have to be delayed so long to get to this point. Every year, we recruit new teachers. You wait for returns from the district for you to be able to process and put them on the payroll. And sometimes you hear that for 6 months, newly recruited teachers haven't been paid. These all go to efficiency of the public sector. And all of us must work to ensure that the work for which we're put in place and paid for, we do so that we don't find ourselves in this kind of situation. But I'm happy that the unions, together with the ministry and the Trades Union Congress, following discussions, have been able to come out with this communique. My understanding is that the unions will go back to their councils and go and consult. But I want to reiterate the appeal on behalf of government and on behalf of the people of Ghana that the strike action is called off, and that the issues that are on the table for negotiation, the parties come together, sit and negotiate these issues so that we can come to an amicable settlement and have a win-win situation in this case. I want to emphasize that government is willing to sit and look at the grievances of various workers' groups, not only to do with teachers and educational workers, but other groups that have problems. I think that the Fair Wages Commission is willing to sit and negotiate with them so that we are all able to have an advantage or to get what we want. But in the meantime, I'll also exercise caution in terms of what the total resource envelope of the nation is. I've reiterated this point several times. It's like a family. In the family, we all need something from our father. Somebody needs a new pair of shoes, somebody needs a new bicycle, somebody needs exercise books, somebody needs other things. And the family budget cannot pay for all those things at once. And so we have to take it step by step, and everybody moves together until we're able to meet the demands of everybody. And so I'll ask our union leaders to be understanding of government, and let's see how we can satisfy everybody within what is reasonable in the resource envelope that we have.
That was President John Dramani Mahama in his earlier interaction with the teachers' unions at the Flagstaff House in Accra today. So let me come to you, Kwesi. Is the timing of the president's interaction adept?
I think so. Listening to what the president said, he didn't call the unions to his office to announce a settlement. He's still leaving it that they go back to the negotiation table. And I think that we need to commend him for that. Most often, a decision will have been taken, and then as if he has solved the problem. Anytime that situation happens, you create more problem than solving it. But this time around, as the president, he has appealed to them to sit down, negotiate, and take good cognizance of the situation we find ourselves as a nation. And therefore, his plea for them to go back to work, I mean, it's appropriate. Once he never announced any final decision, but it's left to the bodies to go back and negotiate. I think that is the best way the president should have handled it, and he has done that.
So, Richard, the strike is not over. You wouldn't say it's over.
I don't want to go, since I'm not authorized to say that, and rather the powers that be would be saying yes or no tomorrow. It's constant that the press conference will come tomorrow. I don't want to be seen to be preempting the press conference.
But were you at the meeting today?
Unfortunately,
this
no,
afternoon?
I was not at the meeting.
Were you briefed?
I was briefed, and I was part of the strategic meeting after the meeting with the president.
So were you informed that the meeting went well or not?
Surely, like my senior colleague has said, the intervention of the president cannot be underestimated, and the cordiality that, according to information, characterized the meeting. I think it was good.
It was good.
Yeah.
I asked earlier, but you didn't quite give me a pinpoint answer. When I asked you, should we have gotten to the stage or the state of presidential intervention before a solution?
Yes, I think I'll repeat, no, it was not necessary. It was not very necessary, because if the stakeholders, and in this case I'm referring to the institutions that are responsible for the concerns, maybe if they have acted accordingly and timeously, I don't think it would have been necessary for us to. Don't forget, we have concerns for which we supported the strike action by our rank and file. So let's focus on those concerns. And some of these concerns do not have anything to do with the presidency at all. It has to do with the management of GES, and then the government institution, the government arm of Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, and maybe some other quasi-state institutions. So that's why I will repeat that it did not need the intervention of the president. Nevertheless, I don't think it is out of order. He is the first gentleman of the land. Any other institution, any other officer is working on behalf of the president. So if you look at it from that angle, I think it's not bad. He's just like he's calling his subordinates to order.
But my concern really is that there have been several calls on you to consider the plight of the students you're teaching, those who are going to write examination, tamper mercy with their situation and go back. You didn't listen. And it took the president to make you decide that you will listen or you will submit yourself to the processes of negotiation.
Yes, it's said that there's no smoke without fire. Indeed, you might not know, or the public might not know, things have not gone the right way for a long period. And we have rather been suppressing tensions. In fact, we have been accommodating. We have accommodated for a long time. And maybe somebody will say that this is a kind of explosion. But even if we want to describe it as an explosion, still the way we have managed this 1 week, I think we need to be commended. We really need to be commended. Otherwise, maybe the effect would have gone more than we have seen.
Okay, Mr. Danso Champong, should teachers be commended? in this situation, really? I mean, must we just say that everything else they've done, and well, I mean, every strike they've embarked on, and wherever we are now, and whatever outcomes we have arrived at now,
I don't think
they should be commended?
I don't think they need to be commended. I think that, see, industrial relations in Ghana is gradually becoming anarchic or anarchical, in the sense that most of us don't want to go by the tenets of the law. And it's unfortunate. I think that we need to support workers to get what they want using legitimate means. But where people begin to flout the law, simply in pursuit of what they think they deserve, then it's trying to build a state of anarchy. And that one, I don't think anybody should commend anybody. We need to respect the law. And I think that it's time maybe the Labour Commission and the tripartite arrange the meeting of all the stakeholders for us to look at the law and see if this is the law we want to use to guide our industrial relations. You know, because for me, to have a law existing in the law books that nobody respects, you know, makes a mockery of the law.
Yeah.
And these are the things that we need to look at very seriously. That the institutions that have been created to manage industrial relations should be empowered enough for them to make definitive decisions which will, you know, engender confidence in the workers and the employers who come before them. I think that the Labour Commission that has been established under the law, Access 5.1, doesn't have enough power. It's still at the beck and call of the courts, you know, and therefore we need to look at the tripartite to see if the Labour Commission will be strengthened enough for them to make a decision that is binding at the time and it's enforceable for those who are aggrieved by the decision to go to court. Instead of the Labour Commission, when they've made a decision, they need to go to court to enforce it. You get it? And if you create an institution and after they've made a decision, they need to carry it to the court to go and enforce. Then when they go to the courts are not also, you know, they want to exercise their judicial power over some of these administrative bodies and therefore begin to toss the decision left and right. When that thing happens, you kill the spirit of the institution. And therefore, I think that the stakeholders need to call a meeting.
Talking about institution, when the president was reacting to Kofi Asamoah's suggestion of institutional failure, he said that the strike didn't have to have gotten this far. Would you say that it appears that primarily what has brought us to this extent is institutional failure?
Yes, it is. In the sense that, you see, and sometimes also, I think that the understanding of the law is also one thing, you know, because if you look at what the law defines as legal strike, I don't think it's what we are seeing in Ghana, you know, because you can only go to strike under two circumstances under our law. The first one is that where the parties have negotiated and there's a deadlock, and none of the parties is ready to move to the next process of, you know, triggering either mediation or arbitration. That's what the law says. When that situation arises, then the other party that is eager to get the matter resolved will send a notice to the other person, the other party who is being recalcitrant, that we give you 7 days notice for you to come around for us to move to the next stage of resolving the dispute.
So you also hold the opinion that this strike was illegal?
No, definitely. See, the strikes that we've had in Ghana, most of them are illegal.
Illegal, well.
Because, see, when we are talking of illegality, it's not from somebody's mind. The law that the parliament
if there are
had
breaches of the law,
had defined what a legal strike is. And therefore, we need to abide by that. That is the only thing. Because if we don't, then we're going to have a problem on our hand. Because as a nation, if industrial relations practice becomes a bit unlawful, or create too much room for anarchy, then who is the person who will come in to invest in a very anarchic situation? So all of us, I have always been a trade unionist, a leader in negotiation. But my attitude had always been that we need to pursue legitimate interest using legitimate means. That is the only way we can build a better industrial relations.
Pursue legitimate interests using legitimate means. I'm told that we're joined on the line by Mr. Yorson. Cornelius Yorson is the Director of Grievances and Negotiations at the Fair Wages Commission. Good evening, sir, and thanks for your time.
Good evening.
It appears to me that the Fair Wages Commission has shown a lot of good faith in meeting a lot of the demands of the teachers, but you haven't met all. What is preventing the Commission from meeting the premium retention demand, for example?
Let me say that the issue of premium, whether retention or otherwise, is part of the larger issue of market premium. And you and I know that as we speak, the guidelines for the mechanism for the implementation of the market premium has not been released yet. So what everybody is receiving now is more of part of the interim arrangement that is being given to those who already had an element of premium in their previous salaries. So it will be difficult to go sit and talk about premium when the guidelines are not out. You see, that's where the problem is.
Okay.
So for the other issues, you see, most of the issues that the teachers went on strike on actually were no issues at all. There were issues that were being resolved already. About a month ago, the National Labour Commission issued a directive that the issue of car maintenance allowance should be tackled. And indeed, the GES was collecting data on those who had authorization to use their vehicles for official duties. They were collecting the data. On the issue of incremental jump, the Public Services Joint Standing Negotiating Committee had agreed that the incremental jump, which affects every single employee who has been migrated, must be tackled. So the GES was not the only institution that had a problem with incremental jump. But on the 13th of March 2013, when we met the teachers, we made a commitment to pay for the incremental jump for the teachers, and the Controller and Accountant General Departments was directed actually to bring out the figures that will be involved so that we can sit down and talk about the schedule. The issue of WAEC exams, vigilation exams, had nothing at all to do with fair wages, and indeed we had given instructions to the GES to go ahead and negotiate with WAEC about the matter. The same with the issue of promotion. We are aware that the GES was talking with WAEC and was handling the promotion issue rather seriously. So on all those four issues, there was something that was being done, and that's Mr. Danso Champon rightly said. When people are sitting down, they are talking, there was no need at all for a strike action. So if you ask me today, the strike action was totally unnecessary, and you didn't need a strike action to resolve any of the issues.
Right, I'll hold you there, really. I mean, I'm here with the Teachers Union, Nat, and I think it's fair for him to react. Richard, do you agree that the strike was uncalled for? There was no need at all for the strike. That's what the Fair Wages Commission is saying.
I don't agree with him because really we were pushed into this strike. We were pushed, and I plead that you give me a little more time to take the issues one by one. First, I talked about we being commended. I have here a letter dated October 20, 2011, where the General Secretary of NAT wrote to the Acting Director General, GES, and the title of the letter is Request for Urgent Meeting to Discuss Burning Issues Within the GES. That is October 2021. And I bet you one of those burning issues listed in the letter is promotions. And as we sit here right now, we still have some problems related to promotions. I will agree and concede that some of the problems have been resolved within the period. But even then, the problems were resolved in the midst of these maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Dating a letter from October 20th. So I think you agree with me, we need to be commended, because we have contained much. Now, talking about the premium, if you look at our press conference message for which we went on strike, one of the first issue we mentioned was the non-negotiation of our collective agreement. The collective agreement of employees of GES, the teaching staff of GES, has expired 2 years now. Meanwhile, the Labour Act enjoins us and for that matter, every union to have a collective agreement so that you can bargain with your employer.
And this has everything to do with the Fair Wages Commission.
Exactly.
Or what? I mean,
when at our first meeting on the 26th of January with the GES management planning to start the negotiations, we knew that it was important that GES wrote for mandate from Fair Wages to enable GES negotiate with the unions, especially concerning the issues that had to do with finance, because Fair Wages is in charge of that. The reply that Fair Wages gave to the letter GES wrote was, just to put it unclear. They couldn't say, yes, we are giving the mandate, go ahead with the negotiations, or no, you are not giving the mandate. So at our next meeting, the following week, we had to ask GES management to write back to Fair Wages seeking clarification.
My point is that, did you reach a deadlock and decided that you were still within your legal remit to continue the strike? Otherwise, you were on strike illegally.
I may not declare it as a deadlock. The last meeting that he quoted, my friend Mr. Yosin quoted as having taken place on the 13th of March. Yes, we were at that meeting. We had a lot of discussions. Now, we impressed upon Fair Wages, it was solely about the incremental credits, which had not been paid for 3 years now. 3 years I'm talking about. So, having come to a consensus, we requested Fair Wages to write officially to Ministry of Finance, establishing the principle that it has been agreed both at the Public Services Joint Standing Negotiation Committee level and also at our level, I mean between the unions and the GES management, that this money are arrears accruing to teachers which should be paid, and a copy given to us. 2 weeks after that, we have not seen anything of that sort. And indeed, it was by the close of that day's meeting, based on the outcome that went out, that is even when the agitations started from our rank and file. So in order not to be seen to be out of control of affairs, that is why we have to come in as leadership to contain affairs.
Mr. Yosin, I mean, you've heard the comments of Richard Equity Sagodo, who is the officer in charge of salaries and terms of conditions at NAT. I mean, listening to him, would you still say that you're hopeful that there will be some good luck from tomorrow's meeting?
You see, let me explain a few things. The issue of the incremental jump, as I've already said, did not involve only teachers. And two, the incremental jump has been frozen by the Public Services Joint Negotiation Committee itself, that because of the complexity of the span, it should be frozen. So when everybody is navigated, we can come back on it. That is why we have to decide to come back on it on the 26th of February, as I hitherto mentioned. So it is not entirely true to say that it's been pending for 3 years. It was frozen by the Public Services Joint Standing Negotiation Committee itself. You see, that's number one. Number two, on the other issues, it's at the meeting of the 13th of March, we reached substantial agreement. The Council General said that they would need to go and do their homework and present the report by the second week of April. So it is not true that nothing was being done about it, or that up to today nothing has been heard. The people are working on it. You see, and again, at the meeting of the Labour Commission on 1 month ago, the Labour Commission actually gave instruction that the issue of promotion should be tackled. And the Labour Commission meeting was about a month or more ago, long before this strike action. That's why I'm saying that the strike action itself seems to be something that was born. See, we had hints of this strike action for a long time. Somebody wanted a strike action by all means, and then it had to come on. You see, some of these things, we don't want to go into the details. It has to do with a lot with the internal politics of the union, not concerned teachers. I don't want to go there, you see. But the strike action, to all intents and purposes, was very unnecessary, and they could have achieved whatever they have achieved today without going on strike action. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right, Mr. Yosin, I'll still hold you there, then later on we'll come to you. So Mr. Danso Champong, when you hear Mr. Yosin, and then you hear the reaction that came from Nat, does it worry you that this back and forth is the reason why the strike is where it is now, without any concrete solution?
Yeah, I'm worried in the sense that, see, the institutions that have been set up should be given the free hand to work. And therefore, if the fair wages have been empowered to undertake negotiations where compensation is financed from the public funds, then they should be seen as that institution solely responsible for that. All other ministers and the president, the vice president can do the background talking. Okay, because in the private sector, if you are negotiating with the human resource manager, hardly will you see the managing director coming in. They will ask for a caucus or a break, then they will go and consult. So the workers who are negotiating with the human resource know that the settlement has to be done by those around the table. You may not have anybody intervening to create the impression that is taking that power from the negotiation team. And therefore, it's important that the fair wages is strengthened, and also the mandates are given quickly. Because if the demands the teachers are making have always been there, I don't think they should wait for fair wages to go round the thing before they get. You see, trade union politics is sometimes more heated than even the national politics, okay? Because the leadership are responsible to the rank and file who are spread all over the place. They may not get the basic understanding of the issues. You know, communication becomes very difficult. And therefore, sometimes the strike action is not necessarily waived by the national leadership. The things start boiling from the base, and you cannot do anything, you know, because communication is not very thorough, and the institutions that are working also don't have the immediate mandate to make a commitment. And therefore, when they go to the table, they think that they are wasting time. Then those who are waiting for the outcome begin to put pressure on the leadership. You know, so we need to sometimes appreciate where the unions too are coming from. Because they also have a very strong constituency to report to. And therefore, if they are not getting the right signals from those they are negotiating with, then they also don't have the basic information they can sell to their various rank and file. So the thing is that, you see, industrial relations is a very complex area in governance. And I think that now that the labor law has made it possible for all these public sector workers to be unionized, it's time government looked into the human resource for the fair wages area. You know, because as my brother said,
is it to suggest that you have concerns with the competences of the people who work at the Fair Wages Commission to ensure that the right approaches are followed and then the right negotiations are?
Mr. Graham and his team, I think they are doing a good job. The point is that they are overstretched. The number of, you know, the pressure on them is too much. And therefore, they should be strengthened by employing more qualified people. Because as he said, now all these public sector workers are unionized. And once they become unionized, their terms and conditions of service should be captured in a document they call collective agreement. And therefore, now that most of the people have been migrated onto the single spine scale, the next thing to do is to have a collective agreement that have a duration, maybe 3 years, with 18-month wage opener. Okay, in that situation, the employer will have the time to plan. But insofar as there are no specific terms and conditions of service, then every year when the economy begins to shake, they also shake the government. You see, the private sector is quiet, not because the workers there are not suffering. They are. But most of them are tied down by collective agreements that said, within the next 3 years, this is the document you're going to work with. all the allowances, everything is contained in the collective agreement. Until the document comes out, comes in for negotiation, you have to abide by time. You know, so now the fair wages should be given the mandate to start negotiating collective agreement with all the public sector employees, so that they all have a collective agreement with a stated duration, so that all the parties can plan towards it. That is the surest way of removing the state of anarchy and industrial relations that we are beginning to experience.
Right. Richard, I'll come to you. I have in front of me excerpts of the communique which you agreed upon on March 22nd. And it does appear to me that your demands were met: the payment of car maintenance allowance, payment of yearly incremental credit, promotion of teachers, WAEC supervision and invigilation allowance. Why didn't you call off the strike a week ago if you agreed to some of these terms?
It might interest you to note that I think I've already intimated it, some of these reactions or much work that we are seeing, it's only been done within this 1 week. So one would suggest that, well, it is the strike which has now pushed people to do certain things which they are supposed to do. Because if you remember, I mentioned of promotion-related issues, which was tabled as far back as November or October 2011. And so how come that a common, excuse me my language, a common promotion date, which was stated wrongly, could not have been corrected within a period of, say, 6 months, and it has to take only a week or two around the strike for it to be corrected?
So you think that your strike has yielded results?
Very much it has yielded. I wouldn't mince words. It has yielded a lot. In fact, our major and our trump card, it has to do with negotiation of our collective agreement. And in the spirit of the National Labour Commission, as well as in the spirit of the first gentleman of the land, the fair wages and all the other stakeholders, including the unions, we have been asked to go back to the table. Of course, that is what we've been looking for. And that was why, from the word go, we asked GES, our management, to write for mandate. In fact, it might interest you to know that it came to a point we didn't know whether we were going to negotiate with GES management or fair wages. So we keep on being tossed to and fro until this strike came into existence.
I think that negotiations should now be left with the fair wages. See, the time that employers within the governmental sector negotiate with the workers, I think should be done away with completely. Because, see, the fair wages will ensure national interest. If you allow workers to negotiate their own management within the government sector, whose interests are they protecting? You know. But the fair wages will ensure that the figures they are bringing out will be sustainable and everything. And therefore, once that the fair wages has been created as a negotiation body, I think that all other negotiating should now be channeled through the fair wages.
You have a reaction to that?
Yes, thank you. Yes, to a large extent, I agree upon what he's saying. But still, the fair wages also agrees to the fact that there are certain allowances which are so unique and peculiar to particular services. For example, if you take the WAEC invigilation, it is only in the GES. Therefore, fair wages has also considered that when it comes to such allowances, it should be rather directly done between the management, the WAEC, which is also organizing the exams on behalf of GES, together with the unions. Right.
I'm afraid we'll take a short break. And Mr. Olsen, if you're there, when we return from the break, I'll put my next question to you and then we'll wrap up the discussion. You can join us by text 1760 or post your Facebook comments on our Facebook wall, facebook.com/Joy News. And then if you are active on Twitter, our Twitter handle is Joy News on TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back to PM Express. Now, the communique which was agreed on on the 22nd of March. Portions of it reads that at the meeting, all the parties agreed that substantial progress had been made in addressing all the issues of concern except the teachers' retention premium. It was further agreed that the retention premium was to be subject to further discussion. The teachers' union indicated their intention to consult various councils and provide feedback by close of work Monday, 26th of March. This was on the issue of union calling off the strike. They agreed that if they got a letter of commitment from the Fair Wages Commission on this communique, they would impress upon their members to call off the strike. Mr. Yossen, if you're there, I need to find out from you whether you have sent any letter of commitment to the various groups which are in negotiation with you.
Yes, we have. You see, but let's understand it this way. You go for a meeting, you issue a communique. What better way to show your commitment than a communique? You see, so it looks like twisting of arms. You see, you go for a meeting, you issue a communique together, and one party says that on top of the communique, issue me a letter before I can go and convince my constituents.
So you're not happy that you had to write a letter of commitment, right?
Yeah, we have written it. We sent them. We've even called all the unions, apart from the written one, to inform them that this letter is gone. We are also inviting them tomorrow for discussion on the matter. You see, let me explain something. The Fair Wages and Salaries Act, by Section 39 or so, says that any public body that was responsible for the negotiation of conditions of service shall cease to have that power after 1 year of the coming into force of the Fair Wages and Salaries Act. So it is not true to say that conditions of service have to be negotiated for individual institutions. Indeed, categories 2 and 3 allowance, which forms a larger part of the conditions of service, are negotiated at the PSJNC level, at the Public Services Joint Stand Negotiating level, and at the Service Classification level. It is only the non-monetary aspects of the conditions of service that can be negotiated at the institutional level. And indeed, the proposal of Fair Wages was that because it can still create distortions, we were suggesting that for various service classifications, if you could, even for the conditions of service, negotiate them at the service classification level. This is what brought about the back and forth, and not that anybody wanted to be delaying the matter.
So
it was a legal matter that needed to be resolved before we can actually be sure of the negotiation. The WAEC invigilation is a third-party arrangement. It has nothing to do with conditions of service. It has nothing to do with the fair wages. It has everything to do with WAEC and the GES and the teachers.
But let me ask you. I mean, we know the law expressly says that when you go on strike, you shouldn't be paid. Is the Fair Wages Commission going to go ahead to pay teachers who have been striking?
They are going to be paid. Henceforth, we're going to put the rules clear. You see, we have to do a lot of homework on some of these matters. For example, who constitutes management? The head teacher at the facility level, the head teacher. Is he part of management? So that if the head teacher is part of management, the head teacher can now look at those who came to work and those who didn't come to work at the strike period, and then there will be monitoring of who was at work and who was not at work, and so therefore they are not paid. Because you see, the union dues has two purposes. The union dues is to pay for administrative expenses of running of the union, and the second one is that in the event that the union calls a legal strike, the union will use the money to pay for the striking workers. So the striking days are supposed to be paid by the union and not by the employer. And this is one of the things that as a nation we have not done. And these strike actions have actually taught us a lesson. These things are going to be put in place so that henceforth, if you are going on strike, you know that you are going on strike. So that when you are going on strike, you think twice, knowing that you have to pay for the striking days. So these are some of the things that are going to be put in place henceforth.
Now, there have been suggestions, expert suggestions, that the Fair Wages Commission should commit to a longer bargaining agreement with the various unions, like say 3 years. I mean, how do you respond to that?
So my good friend, my learned friend, Mr. Dan Swetchampo, did not avert his mind to the section 39 of the Fair Wages and Employment Act, which says that anybody that was responsible for collective bargaining agreement shall no more have that due responsibility 1 year after coming into force of the Fair Wages and Employment Act. It will appear, therefore, that every conditions of service have to be negotiated collectively, either at the service classification level or the PNJNC. That is why in our last letter to the GES and to the teachers, we explained to them that the conditions of service will now comprise those items decided at the PNJNC, at the service classification, and then the non-monetary aspects at the institutional level will now form the new conditions of service. So the dynamics have changed altogether. It's no more going to be every 3 years have conditions of service for us, etc., etc. It is going to be done under the purview of the FWSC and, of course, under the Act.
Right, Mr. Dan Swetchampo, your quick reaction to that?
No, I think that the explanation is true that so that you have the omnibus negotiation for all the public sector workers. They will have maybe an omnibus collective agreement, and that will capture later on a supplementary one to deal with the specific problems. I mean, if you are dealing with, say, doctors, the night allowance and all those in the risk allowance may be negotiated separately. But for all of them to have one omnibus collective agreement, okay, they will also simplify the issue for government so that negotiation will not become very chaotic.
Or
So
and clumsy as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, see, because if you are going to negotiate with all the public sector workers union differently, definitely you're going to have a big problem on your hands.
And do you think that the striking teachers should be paid for the time they've been on strike?
See, the law makes it clear that if you go on strike, you are not supposed to be paid. It's now left for the employer to decide as to whether they have the gut to do that, you know. And therefore, this is, if we want the law to work, these are the things that the union management can sit down and talk about. But my plea is that let all of us try and assist to ensure that the labor law in Ghana works, you know, because if we don't take care, all the institutions
Will hold all of us at
No, no.
ransom
Yes,
at,
I mean,
at each time.
the whole society,
And the president has sent out a warning, really, that the national purse is not unlimited to meet
Yeah.
all the
No,
demands
that
of
one, you
various
see,
groups.
that one, yes, the president is saying it, but that one also, you see, Ghana, we are now beginning to make politics more lucrative. And therefore, you see, workers, they do comparison. Well, if you are giving all these, largesse to other people from the same nationality, how do you turn around and tell that the cake is too small?
Right, so Richard, Richard,
yes,
very careful.
Richard, I need to ask you
on
before,
the issue
before
of
you
okay.
yeah, before you continue, I need to ask you: are your striking members expecting to be paid for the period they've been on strike?
Definitely.
They are
Yes.
from where?
Yes,
you
from the
expect them
conference,
government
especially
coffers.
when you can read in between the lines that somebody, as a result of inability or non-commission of somebody at somewhere, which has led to this sort of action, I don't think that anybody can. I am not vetoing, but I don't have such powers. But I don't think that we should. It's a no-go area. We shouldn't go there.
We
at all.
shouldn't.
We shouldn't.
So
We
you
shouldn't.
so you really expect to be paid during the time you're going on
and
strike.
We must be paid.
So what happens
After
if
all,
what happens
does
if
the
you are
law
not
say?
paid?
The expert is here. How many days are you supposed to work in the month? Minimum. The strike started on the 15th, so we've half the month. Okay. The little I know about the law, we've half the month, and we enter into the second part of the month. The 28 days working days. How many days left before 28? So let's not go there.
So can you make us assurances
teachers
that
have been very accommodating, and we all know in this country that teachers are very understanding and accommodating. If you look at a number of things that are going on in the country, so we should rather continue to plead with them, rightly as the president did, it was a very nice plead, and that is why I don't think that tomorrow will be a dark day for anybody in the country.
So, can you give us an assurance that tomorrow there will be something positive following from the president's plea?
I have already said that I am not authorized to do that. It may be usurpation of powers. So tomorrow is just around the corner. I want to believe that there will be something positive.
But you're meeting all the stakeholders, Fair Wages Commission, GES, and
Yes.
all the stakeholders are meeting. So
Yes.
can you gauge whether there will be a positive outcome?
Let's wait for tomorrow and hear from the horse's own mouth. The powers that
Anyway,
be.
right. So I have some comments that are coming in from our numerous viewers. Miniru from Kumasi says, President Mahama has succeeded in deceiving the faithful teachers today. I don't know. Well, that's your opinion. And Papa Rich from Obuasi says, I just don't know why teachers are always cheated. Please, can you kindly ask Dr. Kujo Farijan why the EC has refused to pay the 2012 election officials who are mostly teachers? Please, what happens to 2011 trained teachers whose back pay was unfairly paid, especially Commander Edina Eguafo Ebrim, KEAA. And Walasi Sewonu says, I think colleague teachers should go back as the president has pleaded and promised. If he fails, then we will know what to do next. And Franklin Avega says, every worker in Ghana deserves to be paid well. And Ishmael Mensah says that we will go back and teach. But if the president's promise is not fulfilled, we will come back. Well, I guess you're saying that we will go back on strike. Francis Akon says that we are not going anywhere unless NAT and NAGRAT directs us. So, well, we're waiting for that direction tomorrow. And Chief Justice Kofi Odikro says that the issue is government agencies and state institutions are just incompetent and lazy group of people enjoying the poor man's taxes. The teachers should not return to the classroom unless their demands are fully met, since that's what these, I beg your pardon, your words are too harsh. That's what these agencies understand before resolving their conditional problems. And Mawe Femo Nude, you say that I think concrete measures must be taken to address the concerns of the teachers once and for all. Glechu Wisdom Avogadro says nothing official is out indicating even a suspension. So we are awaiting NAT and NAGRA to brief us officially. Donald Eje Ano says, please, I want to ask if we students are going to school. I can't tell you that until tomorrow. And then Anthony Hope Ahedo says that when UTAG went on strike, VC supported them and they got 114%. When POTAC went, principals supported them and they got 96%. When doctors and nurses went, directors of health service supported them and they got 55% and 90%. Unfortunately, most of our directors and headmasters are now our real enemies. They are doing everything to sabotage our fight for pay equity. Mr. Olsen, if you're there, I want to ask whether these percentages are true. Are you there, Mr. Olsen?
You see, it stems from a serious misunderstanding of what the interim premium is about. The doctor or the health service worker was collecting ADHA, which the teacher was not collecting before. It was this ADHA that was commuted into an interim premium for him, pending the rollout of the...
So doctors and nurses had 55% and 90%, correct?
That's what I'm saying, that the doctor had, the ADHA, additional duty hour allowance, which was paid to him based on the extra hours he does. So it is this amount that has been computed for him for the interim premium so that he's not made worse off during the migration. It has nothing to do with strike action or anything of that nature. The same with the university lecturer. They were collecting the equivalent of the dollar. And this amount that was computed, we are stopping the dollar. And so you are computing the difference so that they will not be made worse.
Wouldn't you say that from these figures that are coming out, it does appear that the teachers may think that what's good for the gander is good for the geese, really? You must be willing to submit to their demands then if other people in the working structure are getting these amounts paid?
You see, it is the duty of the leadership to explain to their members that this has nothing to do with discrepancy or disparity or anything. If somebody is collecting an amount and you are migrating him onto a new scale, you do not make him worse off. The ILO is clear about this one. So you have to compute this one and make it an interim matter for him, pending the guidelines on the market premium. So it is out of a misunderstanding, you see. And the teachers' leadership have a duty to explain to them that you were not collecting ADHA. So when they are giving them 55%, it has nothing to do with you. You are not collecting dollar. You see, because otherwise you bring the teacher's salary, the nurse's salary down, the doctor's salary down, or the lecturer's salary down.
Right, Mr. Cornelius Yosin, we're grateful. Cornelius Yosin, we're grateful for your time. Cornelius is Director, Grievance Negotiations and Collective Bargaining at the Fair Wages Commission. So a quick one, Richard. Donald Ejayano says that, please, I want to ask if students are going to school.
Just as you answer, let's wait for tomorrow. After all, tomorrow is just around the corner. We believe from the strategic meeting this morning, we believe that between 9:30 to 11, we'll hold a press conference, and we believe that noon, 12 news.
So students shouldn't go to school?
I can't say yes or no for now.
Okay. Thank you very much, Richard Equity Sagodo is Officer of Salaries, Terms and Conditions at NAT. And then Kwesi Danswe Champong is a labor consultant. We're also grateful for your time, and we're grateful for you, our audience, who sent in your messages and comments. And thanks to Cornelius Yosin, who we just spoke to earlier. My name is Stephen Enti, and have a great night.